when Princess Anne broke royal formation with a single white-gloved hand and cried 5 thunderous words on live international television, 600 years of treasured British tradition came to a dead, suffocating stop on the ancient cobblestones of Windsor Castle. Get away from him now. In front of 50 rolling broadcast cameras, foreign embassies, and thousands of stunned spectators in the open quadrangle, Queen Camilla had accomplished the unthinkable. In a last-ditch effort to control the center of the global broadcast frame, Camilla had reached out and physically shoved 8-year-old Prince Louis out of the royal lineup, causing the little prince to stumble on the stones in front of everyone. But Camilla was unaware that 3 steps behind her would be Princess Anne, a lady with no power to defend her lineage. Before palace staff could stop the live broadcast, Anne went out of line, confronted the Queen Consort personally, and completely and embarrassingly stopped Britain's largest imperial parade. The military brass band choked mid-note. As the columns of 800 marching guards locked their boots onto the sidewalk, an oppressive silence descended upon Windsor Castle. There was more to what happened than just public humiliation. It was the total collapse of Queen Camilla's authority inside the British monarchy. Prior to learning about Prince William's frigid backstage ultimatum, King Charles's sealed decree that permanently altered the royal hierarchy, and the covert surveillance film from the ceremonial operations room, please don't forget to subscribe to our channel and press the notification bell. With your assistance, the brave, unadulterated truth from beyond the royal gates will continue to be told. To understand how this historic tragedy happened in front of the entire world, one must return to a closed, high-security rehearsal within St. George's Hall 12 days before Garter Day. There were no spectators, no throngs, and no journalists. Only the dim amber glow of chandeliers illuminated the centuries-old flooring, displaying the order of the Garter since before the establishment of modern nations. Family members stood on white tape markers, while a floor organizer pacing with a clipboard yelled. When Camilla, the second queen, entered the hall, the mood shifted. Instead of walking to her assigned target, Camilla went into the technical cage, where television directors sat behind a massive bank of broadcast monitors. Those televisions featured Prince Louis, age 8, and Princess Catherine. In every camera run, the lenses naturally followed the young prince. Even when Louis was simply changing into his formal attire or beaming widely, his infectious charm, boundless energy, and unmistakable radiant similarity to the late Princess Diana effortlessly dominated every frame. Louise was 8 years old, and every technician in the room stared at her. Standing behind the directors, Camilla carried out the brutal calculations she had done in private for years. No diamond-encrusted tiara, no flowing velvet mantle, and no official title could change the reality that the world disregarded her while the Wales family was involved. Envy is never merely a sentiment in the halls of monarchy. It quickly turns into a purposeful strategy. Camilla turned to show the movement chart to her secret secretary, the precise strategy that outlines who walks where and whose cameras capture them. She issued a harsh directive. The Wales family was meant to be destroyed by the parade. In order to prevent his face from being physically captured by stationary broadcast lenses, 8-year-old Prince Louis was to be moved back a few feet and forced to go behind a tall row of stone pillars. The objective was simple. For the photo, the little child should be moved into the shadows, cleared the center frame for herself, while quenching the great love that the world's population had for the future generation. Because she was the Queen Consort, she believed she had unlimited power, but she grossly misunderstood Prince William. Leading the rehearsal line, William heard every word. William believed that this was not a disagreement over camera angles. He had witnessed the resurrection of a venomous palace playbook when he was 15 years old. When they subtly pulled Princess Diana out of sight, William veered off course, crossed the vast expanse of St. George's Hall, and found himself inches from his stepmother in front of 11 shocked members of the film team. With a scary warning that shook the stone walls, William raised a hand and looked directly into Camilla's eyes. "My youngster is standing in the proper position. My family is never marginalized." After that, there was total silence. Camilla's jaw tensed and her knuckles whitened against her frock. For 4 painful seconds, the future king and queen consort gazed at each other. Camilla turned on her heel and swept out of the corridor without uttering a word. To gullible onlookers, her silence seemed to be a sign of surrender. But those who are accustomed to palace warfare never give up silence. "I'm preparing." For the next 12 days, Camilla remained silent about the rehearsal. She gave the impression that she had given in to the family. But in her dressing room, behind locked oak doors, Camilla executed a covert plan on the morning of the ceremony. On a single page of thick parchment on her dressing table was a movement map that she had painstakingly drawn late the previous evening. By physically separating Prince William from 8-year-old Prince Louis with her unpredictable, hostile penmanship, Camilla has prevented Prince William from being televised globally. In order to accomplish this, she placed a sharp ink arrow in front of the young prince. Camilla brought her senior assistant into the room when the hallway guard was changing, and she utilized the entire weight of her office to intimidate the worker. After that, she replaced this handwritten document in the Lord Great Chamberlain's official ceremonial binder and issued a strict, non-negotiable directive. The scared assistant slipped inside the operations room, rolled the parchment inside his coat, and flipped the pages during a 40-second security window. Camilla believed she had won. When the massive castle doors opened, she imagined that 8-year-old Prince Louis would be engulfed by the shadows of her heavy robes. Before the sun had even risen, she had no idea that Prince William had outwitted her. Knowing that a silent Camilla is a dangerous Camilla, William had arranged the night before for a secret high-definition recording device to be set up within the ceremonial operations room. Sitting in his own study with a tablet, William witnessed the entire act of sabotage in real time. He witnessed the removal of the official chart, the trembling hands of the assistant, and the distinctive handwriting of the Queen Consort in sharp focus. 90 minutes before the ceremony, William barged into King Charles's dressing room. Without uttering a word, William placed the tablet on the king's mahogany desk and pressed play. King Charles stood motionless in his ceremonial garter robes as he watched the indisputable video evidence of his wife undermining his 8-year-old grandson. The king's expression turned from one of faint disbelief to one of intense rage. Charles immediately realized that if Camilla brutally divided the Wales family in front of 50 countries on live television, the monarchy would suffer lasting damage. Refusing to allow another cover-up, King Charles produced a beeswax candle, a stick of dark crimson sealing wax, and a sheet of official parchment. Charles drafted a royal edict that was legally enforceable. The Wales family was to march unhindered, and the officer carrying the document had formal authority to remove and punish anyone who ignored the order, regardless of royal rank. By melting the dark red wax and pressing his own signature ring into the base, the king produced a sovereign edict that was legally enforceable. Charles handed the sealed parchment to his sister, Princess Anne, after passing through the private apartments. As a gold stick in waiting, a constitutional position from the 15th century, Princess Anne is only legally accountable for the physical security and order of the sovereign during official ceremonies. In that role, Anne has total operational control over the procession. Even the Queen Consort is under her control. Anne turned to her brother and asked one question after reading the sealed order once. Was he prepared for Camilla to overtly enforce the technique if she tried it? Charles nodded resolutely, folded the parchment, placed it in the breast pocket of her uniform, and took on her job. The trap was set up. As the morning wore on, the atmosphere within the residential quarters of Windsor Castle grew increasingly tense. As whispers echoed through the stone corridors, seasoned private secretaries avoided making eye contact. Aware of the approaching storm, the historical weight of the Order of the Garter, which loomed over centuries of conflict and triumph, weighed heavily on the estate. Outside, the royal household workers polished brass fixtures, smoothed the crimson carpets along the processional route, and tested communications equipment for the global broadcast with extreme precision. Millions of people around the world were glued to their screens, waiting for the spectacle and extravagance to begin. But behind closed doors, the competitors knew that today's spectacle was actually a thin front for a historic constitutional conflict. At precisely 2:30 p.m., the massive gates of Windsor Castle opened. As the 800 participants in the procession marched toward St. George's Chapel under a brilliant blue sky, thousands of spectators cheered. Following King Charles and Queen Camilla to the front were Prince William, Princess Catherine, and 8-year-old Prince Louis, who looked immaculately handsome in his formal navy suit. Camilla grinned contentedly as she gazed at the media towers, satisfied that the altered documents in the master binder determined the camera angles. But as the procession approached the open flagstones of the lower ward, where the population was densest and international broadcast streams were blocked, Camilla launched her ambush. Camilla accelerated and sliced across the red carpet diagonally. She flung her heavy blue velvet mantle over the route, pushing 8-year-old Prince Louis off of the main walking line with her shoulder and forearm. The physical impact caused young Prince Louis to slip sideways on the uneven cobblestones. His sparkling sneakers slipped, and he quickly extended his arms to regain his balance. The terrible violence of an adult queen torturing an 8-year-old child was captured in high definition by numerous international television cameras. Tears of sudden astonishment and humiliation welled up in Louis's eyes. But the brave young prince refused to give up, clenching his teeth, straightening his shoulders, and holding his head high. At that point, the Garter parade came to a complete stop. Princess Anne saw the thrust. As she marched in full ceremonial attire, Anne instantly raised her white-gloved hand into the air. The signal echoed throughout the ranks like an electrical shockwave. The military band on horses stopped playing. 800 soldiers halted in mid-air. There was a deep, startled gasp from the thousands of individuals in the throng. In a shocking break from royal protocol, Princess Anne left the formation. Her boots clicked with sickening, rhythmic accuracy against the cobblestones as she marched directly toward the queen consort, placing herself inches from Camilla's face. Anne lifted a sharp white-gloved finger and roared so loudly that it echoed around the breathless square. "Leave him now. Go back to your target and take your hands off that boy." Camilla recoiled like though she had been struck by lightning, her face completely devoid of color. Millions of viewers across the world watched in startled silence as the queen consort was publicly reprimanded like a misbehaving courtier. Annie did not let go of her hand. Her eyes blazed with unyielding steel as she stood still, waiting for Camilla to give up. Trembling with irrepressible embarrassment and anger, Camilla had to turn around in front of the entire diplomatic corps and withdraw to the far back of the queue, behind the younger knights. Prince William moved forward and placed a firm, caring hand on 8-year-old Louis's shoulder, while Princess Catherine quickly grasped her son's hand, her face beaming with protective pride. King Charles turned back to his sister with a slow, deliberate gesture of royal approval that echoed around the globe. When the chapel doors finally closed to shield the royals from the crowd, the altercation came to a violent end. Yelling at King Charles that she was the queen and that she had been humiliated in front of everyone, Camilla stormed into the private vet. She proudly declared that she had followed the official movement chart and challenged anyone to provide evidence of her wrongdoing. William walked over to the long stone table. Silently setting down the tablet, he began to play the security film of her assistant flipping the charts. Then William removed the original handwritten parchment with Camilla's ink and arrows from his pocket and laid it flat underneath the chandeliers. As her whole falsehood was exposed, Camilla staggered backward, holding onto the edge of a chair for support. King Charles came over to the table and placed his wax-sealed decree beside the document she had faked. With a tone full of chilly finality, the king informed Camilla that her ceremonial rights were immediately revoked. Within a day, the ancient golden keys to Windsor Castle were withdrawn from her, and official statements said that she would no longer be sharing public platforms with the Welsh children. As evidenced by Queen Camilla's attempt to push 8-year-old Prince Louis into the background, which only served to damage her own reputation, no amount of palace plotting can extinguish the bold spirit of Princess Diana that burns brilliantly within her grandson. What are your thoughts on Princess Anne's decision to halt the public Garter procession in order to shield 8-year-old Prince Louis? Did she have the right to publicly degrade Queen Camilla? Kindly share your honest thoughts in the space provided for comments below. Click like and subscribe for more bold royal investigations.